So hey everyone, today we have a very special guest who's been in the business for over 15 years on Vancouver Island, so close to home. Absolutely dominates her marketplace. Last year, Dawn sold over 150 homes in what most would call a really challenging market for most realtors. So everyone, welcome Dawn. And Dawn, thank you for taking your time today to spend with us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So Dawn, what inspired you to pursue your career in real estate?
Well, I had a funny start. I was renovating houses. I actually moved down to Nanaimo from Campbell River. I landed in Campbell River after a pile of different places. I was in the golf industry and was working in the States, and all of a sudden that expired as far as work visas go. So I landed back in Campbell River to see my dad for a short time. And I was working in the customer service industry or in the restaurant industry. And I had never owned a home. I really wanted to get into the market. And I was engaged to a guy up in Campbell River who I think would have been happy to have a cat and a condo. Just to put into perspective, I wanted to have a whole pile of dogs and a bunch of properties. So I packed up and bought a house in Nanaimo sight unseen. My first house, subject to viewing. I came down here and that was my first of 8 flips. And then it made sense for me to get my real estate license. I was like, I'm taking my own photos, I'm rewriting the write-up, and God bless my realtor, I love her to death, but I was feeling like I was doing everything myself. Of course, it turns out you can't sell your own real estate when you get your license, but it was a good entry into the business. And then I kind of put renovating aside. I still have a few projects on the go, but mostly it was just a natural transition into the business. So it was super fun.
Amazing. And obviously it didn't take you long to be a top agent. What did you do to become a top agent in your marketplace so quickly?
So I didn't know anybody here and I had to meet people quickly. And I guess through going to Home Depot a whole pile and the tile store, I started getting seen, and people like to see women renovating houses. So they were always curious. And then I just started meeting people that way, and mostly through sports. So if I'd go to the baseball field now, I can stand on the 4 fields and look around, and every referral I do is through sports. So hockey and ball, I started meeting people, and people love talking about real estate. And I think from the beginning, I've just tried to give really great service and follow up, which is not a perfect science. As you know, when you get busy, it's really hard, but to work my database has been the biggest thing from the beginning. I've never loved internet leads and cold calling, and so the people I can get referrals from and just work with my database. I got into Richard Robbins coaching really early in my career too, so that was a good foundation for that. They preach big time on your lifetime referral system, and really working on taking care of people before, during, and after sale more than anything. And that after sale, I think, is the hardest one for us to keep in touch with people if we don't have good.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of your business comes from your database that you've been building since day one.
Yeah, and I was able to, I always say, oh, I didn't do open houses, or I don't do them right now. I did one this weekend for the first time in forever. But actually, when I look back at the start, when I did meet a few clients, I was doing things like open houses, but I was grinding. I started in May of 2008. And everyone went, oh my gosh, that's terrible, the market's crashing. Well, then I just worked with buyers and investors, so I didn't work with sellers as much, and I was new anyway, so that's all I knew. And then I did the regular things, but I was working, and I would be the first one in the office, the last one out. And not that I recommend that ever anymore, but I did grind at the beginning and put in a lot of time. And I would just say yes to every opportunity. I'd take every floor shift. I would take every open house for other agents. I'd take referrals from people, and I would just keep putting myself out there to other agents that I wanted to be able to be their go-to if they couldn't. I mean, back then I could double end too, but now,
Mhm.
I mean, that's great opportunity for people to latch on to someone who they can be their referral partner to.
Amazing. And how did you differentiate your brand from and obviously your team now from others in obviously a competitive market?
So I wish I had it here or I had it on, but probably in my bio, I'm wearing this vest. And I rebranded early in my career, and you can see, I don't know if you can see this vest I'm wearing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's this green and blue Argyle vest. And from the beginning, I had this marketing guy who changed everything, and he changed all my brand to black with green and blue Argyle, and it just became a thing. So we have a smart car that's branded. We've got golf towels that branded. We've got everything. And it's like the Argyle wave that goes through town. It's hilarious. So I call it the $10 million vest. Doesn't fit that well anymore, but I've had it around, and I swear I was at Remax at the time, and I'd ask people, how did you come across me? Well, we were going through the profile of lots of agents. You looked friendly, and we really liked your vest. I'm like, oh my God, if I hear that vest one more time. But anyways, jokingly, our brand, I think, was really friendly and approachable. And yeah, that vest, I went in there to get my headshot done, and I had a suit. I was wearing that, and I had a suit in my hand and something else. And the guy goes, what are those? I said, well, I don't know. I should probably look like a realtor, whatever. And he threw them across the room on the couch. He goes, that's what you look comfortable in, wear that. And so I think the biggest thing with my brand is it really represented who I was. It was not casual, but it wasn't over the top. And it was, yeah. So we've just gone with that forever. And it's super noticeable now. We get people all the time. If I do listing videos without some kind of Argyle vest, because I've got 6 or 7 of them, people are commenting right away, where's the vest? So it's stuck.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I would love to talk systems. Obviously, you built systems over the last 15 years, and because your database is such a big portion of your business, you obviously have a very good follow up in place with your past clients and referral business going. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, I'm probably the worst person for asking for testimonials. So that's one thing I'm working on this year. I'm always, people say, oh, you did a great job. Oh, thank you. And this year I said, well, thanks. I'm really horrible asking. But would you mind if I asked you, if I sent you a link and asked you to put that in writing? Oh, of course. So that's something I'm working on this year. But as far as follow-up goes, we have a kind of a touch system over the course of the year. You know, little things that are pretty standard that most people do. We have a newsletter, and we stopped doing them as regularly to put better content in them, as opposed to just shoving stuff out for the sake of getting it out. But we do it through BombBomb now, where each of my agents, including myself, have our own segment of our database. So I'll put my face and my video on mine. Lindsay, Chris, and Casey will do all of theirs. And then that goes out to our database of kind of what's going on, and just so people can kind of hear us talking. And then we usually have an event that we run every quarter, but most of the stuff we do is community related. So we've adopted a beach in town. So every month we go and do a cleanup, and we invite the community and our database to come. So we're trying to keep in contact always and keep in front of people. But it started out with a big pumpkin patch I did. A friend of mine passed away, and we started a bursary at the university. And so that became a huge thing, and everybody wanted to be there every year. And I thought, this is fun. And then we started doing a skating party. So we had 2 events a year. And then I started doing a client party at my house, which was scary, but it worked. So kind of those 3 big events. The client party was only clients. The other 2 were public. And then we kind of elaborate on those, but I think doing a really good job of leading up to it, and then the follow-up from those events. And those are just more reasons to call people. And I think that's where we get so like, oh gosh, we're gonna have to pick up the phone and call people just to say hi. And they're gonna be like, what do you want? Why are you calling?
Yeah.
So we try to have a reason to call. And then just, by nature, the conversations continue. So I try to get on the phone with people 4 times a year, which is hard if you're just calling to say hi. But now, because we usually have a reason to call at least quarterly, and of course can't get through my whole database, but we try to at least get in front of people. So we've got a great, and I don't mind sharing this with the group, but we've got a great kind of what we do throughout the year. As far as in January, we do a 1 question survey. So we send out to a whole database saying, hey, we just have 1 question with 5 possible answers. Are you looking to downsize? Are you happy where you are? Are you curious about your value of your home? Or I can't remember, are you looking to buy an investment property? Something like that. So we get, maybe 20 or 30 people engage with that, and those are listing opportunities, or at least we get in front of people. So every month we have something that we're sending out to try to just keep engagement going.
Absolutely, that's a great. And you send that out every January, so just a one question, 5 questions, just so you see who's actually thinking about it for the year, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to send it out next week too. So I usually just do it in January, and I think the market's shifted so much, and there's so much turmoil and interest rates, and who cares if you send it again? Hey, I've got one more question. So we hold up a cell phone, and you got one of these big texts, and it says 1 question, and then your face pops up, and we do this quick little video. But why not? Hey, the market's shifted. This is the answer you gave me in January. How about now? Has anything changed for you? Are you curious what your house is worth? So I think people are always looking for value and to know what the heck their house is worth, even if they're not interested in selling. And then by staying in front of them, mom, dad, brother, sister.
100%. Now, what other strategies have you found to be most effective in generating that repeat business and referrals?
Consistent service experience, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going through a tax audit right now, which is probably one of the worst experiences I've had in my entire life. And they're going back 4 years, 3 of which were my biggest years of my careers. And they're going, we've never heard of somebody who has an assistant and 3 agents that runs it like a business. I'm like, how could you not? This is crazy. It's some lady on a desk in Edmonton. And it was such an eye-opener. And she's going, well, we've never seen people that do this at this stage. Because I'm going like, I give these USBs. So at closing, I don't know if you can see them, but it's a USB, and it's got on it copy of their title, their photographs, their surveys, everything on their strata docs. That goes out. So there's a line item for that in my budget. When you remove subjects, we've got a gift that goes out. When we close, we've got a crate and a bag with moving items in it. And so all the way through, instead of being this big impact at the end, we have all these gifts that happen all the way along for the service experience. And so this lady is saying to me, I've never heard of anybody that does this. And I go, well, actually, while you're talking to me, I'm on a ladder painting a piece of trim because I'm about to shoot listing photos, and you're definitely going to see this in the front. And like, just to put into perspective. And I think that's what's kept us ahead of everybody else. You know, it's one thing to just throw it on the MLS and go in a hot market.
Mhm.
And even now you see a lot of people or iPhone photos or whatever. We've never changed our service experience. We do video on every single one. So a lot of people just do photos and no video when things are moving quickly. We do it every single time so that it looks the same. It's the same experience. We send out the same marketing plan to everybody. Hey, I'm Tara. This is what you're going to receive. Here's all your links where you can see everything. And so we send that out to the clients. And I think that's one thing we've never changed. I mean, we've upgraded, I would say, and gotten better at some things, but we've never decreased our service experience when the market got hot or not.
Even if it's like a $300,000 property to a $2 million home.
100%, we do. And, you know, there's a few things we try to do, and it's not that different on the $2 million home versus the, you know, even the manufactured home. And it's really tough doing all those things on the $80,000 manufactured home, but we do it because one of my biggest clients came from a TD Bank referral of a $30,000 mobile. So you just
Yeah.
never know. So we just give that consistent experience all the way through.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, obviously, you've probably changed over the last 15 years, but do you prefer working with sellers or buyers?
Both. I definitely
Both.
still work with buyers because I like it, but it keeps me relevant. I'm trying more now to work more with sellers. And just by nature, I've been so busy with listings, which is for the first time in my career that it's been so heavily into listings that I have pushed most of my buyers off.
Mhm.
But I think for me, being able to sit at a CMA and say, you know what, I've been in all 6 of these homes, I can tell you this is where your house shapes up. For me, I like the market knowledge, and I'm a
Yeah.
complete nerd. I'm on the hot sheets 100 times a day, and I love knowing and being able to say I was in those. And I encourage my agents, when a house is vacant, make an appointment to go through it. So even if I'm not necessarily working with buyers, I'm getting into every house I possibly can.
Amazing. So market knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're a new agent, like what advice would you give to a new agent or even agents that are just struggling obtaining buyers and sellers right now? Because a lot of things have changed over the past 12 months, right? You know, what would you give advice for to help an agent that might be struggling?
I think just picking 1 or 2 things and doing a really good job at it. I think we get so, you know, focused on all these different opportunities and internet leads and go door knock and go do this. I hate door knocking, but Chris on my team does great at door knocking. And I think it's just finding something you're good at and not doing it because everyone says you should do it. Finding something you're comfortable with, because I think the real you will come out. And that's where I find I make better connections, not necessarily at an open house or door knocking for me, but when I'm in my cleats or my hoodie, because that's where I'm meeting people and I'm just having genuine conversations. So we've found something that's worked really cool for us, and I don't mind sharing it, but it's a VIP program.
Mhm.
So it's an app. I picked it up at EXPCon down in Victoria or Vegas, sorry. And we're able to go to every local business and be like, hey, it's free. Do you want to be on our app? Do you want to offer any kind of, you know, 10% discount or just tell what you do kind of thing? And it's such an easy way to talk to businesses. And now we're interviewing businesses and just getting out in front of people. So find something that you like doing and just do it well and do it consistently. And that's when, you know, it'll start to come naturally.
Yeah, it's so true. Do something that you love doing, right? If you hate door knocking, don't door knock, right? If you like open houses, do open houses. It is so true. At what point in your career did you decide that a team was best for you?
Yeah, so I was 8 years in before I built a team. And I actually joined 2 other guys that already had a team, and we were massive. We were the #1 team at Remax in BC. We were the #3 team in Western Canada and all these wards and all the rest of it. And I absolutely hated it. I blew their mind when I came in one day and I was like, I'm done, I'm out. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, this isn't the way I want to run my business. I hate saying we're #1, and we're not giving the best service experience. It's driving me bananas. I could care less about all these accolades if I'm not genuinely in control of my business. So I left them. So I went from me to we to me, and then slowly rebuilt. So I do have a team again now that I'm in control of, and I like it that way because I'm able to control the service experience. But I was really strategic in how I rebuilt it. I didn't want to get too big too fast. And I think being consistent is so hard to do when you're spread thin. And I think that now that I can control kind of, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts still. It gets overwhelming at time to run the machine, but I think starting out as a brand new agent, it'd be really hard not to be on a team, honestly. Like there's so much to learn. And I think even being with a mentor or collaborating with somebody or being in groups like this is so helpful, just because there's so many things that come up on every transaction, even 15 years in the business. My agents are asking me for stuff, but I am a sponge for brand new agents too, because they've just come out and they see a fresh new angle on something. So, yeah.
Absolutely. You've mentioned the word business a lot through this interview. Why is it important to run your real estate as a business and not just as a realtor?
Oh my gosh, for years I was like, I need to do, and that's one thing about the Richard Robbins way, I'll say, is like every year you can increase your business by 26%. And it was like, when is enough enough? Honestly, it got so big that it was so transactional to me, and I was making tons of money and I was so unhappy. And you hear these stories all the time, but I was a prime example of that. I worked myself silly, and I was 8.5 months pregnant. I did 92 transactions on my own. It was just nuts. So I've dialed it back, and this year I'm on pace to probably do 80, and I'm happy with that. And if my agents do 40 each or 50, that's great, or 20 even, so but I have to run it like a business, because my profit, I would just spend, and thank God I was lucky because I was good at what I was doing, that I still had some money left at the end of the day. But not having a clue and having a handle on it is so bad, because there's so many opportunities that come at you. Put your face on this shopping cart, put it on a golf course scorecard, put it on. And so it all sounds exciting. And that's why I say, like, pick one or two things and do really good at it. Otherwise you just get spread thin everywhere. So knowing your numbers is so important. I'm a huge numbers gal. I track absolutely everything.
So you basically run it like a business. And at what point did you decide to add an assistant and then add some agents to your team?
So my assistant came first, and that was the one thing that I think that I did do differently than people at the beginning. Even before I was super busy and productive, I kept my assistant through the winter. I kept my assistant full time when everybody else would get rid of one, have to retrain one, rehire one. And I just kept all the way through. And she's now been with me for ever. We're like Milli Vanilli. She's behind the scenes, and I'm the face of the business, but I couldn't do it without her. And so assistant first, and then I had joined those two guys. So then we naturally had the partnership, and then we had 4 or 5 more agents. Now I have 3 agents under me. And I think it's nice to have a bit of variety. And that's the one thing. We've got 2 girls, 2 guys. And so we have a mix. So if somebody's not comfortable working with a female or a male, then they have an option. We have a fairly similar in age, but we all have a bit different backgrounds, but we're all into sports. So I think having that camaraderie is good, because it can be a lonely business, and it's busy.
Absolutely. It totally is. What about technology? What have you done to implement technology into your business? In the last 15 years, it has changed a lot. So what are you constantly doing to stay on top of the game?
I'm not very good at that side of it, honestly. I think for me, talking to people and playing sports is my jam. I have an iPhone. I mean, somebody called here one day, and it's the office joke that they said I was an Instagram influencer, and that they found me on Instagram, and everyone thinks it's hilarious because the team posts for us. So I've started posting more myself, but we just are consistent. We have our website through Sierra Interactive, which is the same as Chime or any of the big ones. As long as you're following up consistently, I don't think it matters what system you're using. But we've always had our CRM, and that's the big piece of technology I would say has been the biggest thing for consistency, is using my CRM and making sure to try to get in front of people. And one thing we do with our database too is we write what neighborhood they came in, that they bought or sold in, or that they live in. So through the MLS, whether it's Cedar Hill in Victoria or Uplands or wherever you are, we can pull up everyone in Uplands and send a market update to those areas, or we can pull them up and say what's happening, or an event kind of thing. So we're constantly adding tags and trying to segment our database in a way that we can offer different things to them. So my technology is all my database for sure.
Absolutely. And has there been anything you've done differently since COVID? Stuff that you weren't doing before COVID, and now after COVID hit, you're doing differently?
Calling people a lot more. We
Yeah.
started picking up the phone because we couldn't get in front of them, and people wanted to talk like crazy. Or you go like bang on the door and back up because you want to drop something off, and people open the door and they want to talk for an hour. You're like, oh my God, you haven't seen anybody in 2 years. So I think just calling people and talking to people, and getting in front of more people, as opposed to using technology, because I think the business gets so lost in the shuffle of, DocuSign. You never meet a client. I always try to go over, whenever possible, at least my contract in person the first time, and then I'll send you an initial whatever. But I love sitting down with people and making sure they have 100% understanding what they're signing, because otherwise that was fun. The heck did I sign? Good thing I trust you.
Yeah.
Like, they just have no idea. So I think just getting in person as much as I can.
Amazing. Now, you were one of the top agents at Remax for years. Why did you decide to join EXP?
I think it was at a time also where I was considering changing and blowing up my team and going back on my own. And then I had seen it and then I couldn't unsee it. A fellow, actually John Cooper, had brought it to Nanaimo here, and I sat in on a couple of his sessions, and then I just couldn't sleep. And so I started Googling it and YouTubing and watching every night for about 6 weeks of like, why not to join, why? And then I'm like, oh my God, like you just got to make a decision one way or the other. And I think the impact it had on my business at the beginning, I was super uncomfortable with agent attraction. I thought it was weird. Now I think it's a no-brainer, although I don't spend any time doing it. When I moved, like a whole bunch of people went, oh, wait a minute. And a bunch of people did come over because of that. But that's kind of the extent of it. But I think that for me, I already had an office outside of Remax. I was already kind of operating on my own. It made perfect sense for me. And actually the business model now, understanding the business model makes total sense. And I think it's for everybody. And I think it's a disservice not to share it sometimes, although I wish I shared it more. Honestly, I think there's great opportunities. And I still collaborate with the other brokerages. Like I left Remax and I could walk back in there tomorrow and join if I wanted to. And I think that's the biggest thing. People make these mistakes where they jump from brokerage to brokerage and they don't know what the heck they're doing as the grass is greener. But for me, it's had a huge impact on my family financially. Every year it pays for my assistant, like, and that's for, only a few people coming over and then a few more and a few more. So yeah, it was great. And technology wise, it's everything we need. It's got its bumps along the way, but I think every office does. And I think the more we can be involved, and I think the cool part is we can have a voice in the company, which is neat. So yeah, when there's bumps along the way, we just have to get in the ear of John and everybody else at the top now. So I think there's still good opportunity for growth there.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Richard Robbins and coaching quite a bit. Do you still have a coach?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same coach I've had. One time I tried to leave him and he said, you can't quit me. And I tried, and it wasn't the coach. It was me. I wasn't invested in it. And I tried to change coaches. And then I realized again, the grass wasn't greener on the other side. So Mark's my coach and he knows everything about my personal life inside and out. So even though sometimes it's just a quick 15-minute check-in, I get a little nugget here and there. And the big part of that for me is still the network of people. So even if you stripped out the coaching component, the conference I go to twice a year is the networking I do. I get probably 15 to 20 referrals a year that I close out of it. So for me, it's been huge to glom on to anything that you consistently see those same people across the country, and they're all like-minded and they have similar philosophies of how they do their business, which is my favorite part of everything.
Absolutely. And how important is it to have a coach, if you're new or if you've been in the business 10, 15 years?
I think it's so important. Honestly, I think a coach or a group that you can, talk to that, has either in similar or not even similar in volume, similar in your business philosophy, just to bounce stuff off and to confirm your systems or see another angle of something and have a little bit extra accountability too. I think anybody, athletes, everybody has coaches, and I've always had one, and I can't see not having one, honestly.
Absolutely. What about education? You mentioned conferences. How much time do you focus, whether it be a daily or weekly, on education, learning about the market, learning about skills, systems?
Product knowledge, market knowledge is my favorite. Honestly, every single day I'm on the hot sheets multiple times a day and looking at what things sold for, looking at what they listed for. I've started running a mastermind here in Nanaimo for any agents that want to come. I started at the golf course for every brokerage just to talk about the market and what's happening. I bring in speakers, whatever, and it's in person. And we had 30 people the first day and 60 people the next. It's once a month. 60 people came out. And I think collaborating with the other agents and knowing what's going on in the market and what they're seeing on their listings is so important, because I think we do control the market a little bit.
Yeah.
So you get 10 people that start pricing it really high, hoping to do, like, it's crazy the wave of how realtors kind of can even shape what happens in the market in certain, aspects. So yeah, I do that. And then of course, just keeping up with our licensing credits and stuff. But I like learning things that I haven't learned, like agent attraction is one thing I'm going to start focusing on, which I never did before. And so I just think that there's little pieces of your business that you can level up on, but I'm just constantly looking for, I want to write a book called Real Estate for Dummies, like brand new agents, what not to do in your first 2 years. So I love talking to new agents because I'm like, what are you doing or not doing? And sometimes it's just a new fresh spin on things. So I think just talking to people more than anything.
Awesome. What about scripts and your skills? Obviously you've practiced your listing presentation a few times.
I've done it. It's shifted a little bit lately, and I'm not even sure what the shift was, but actually I do know what the shift was. We've had to differentiate ourselves more lately. So I actually find that I have been competing lately more than ever, and it's very hard to differentiate yourself. So I'm trying to find a nugget of what I can do differently than other people. So I found these down at a conference in Denver, and this is a video card. If you can see that, it's really bad. So a video card, you open it up, it plays a little video, and that's great. It's a gimmick, but when you get into the house, here's something I can do differently than the 900 characters that go on the MLS. It's going to say, hey, now that you're in the house, here's some stuff you might not know. The roof is 8 years old. If you go down the bottom of the stairs, here's where you're going to find the furnace. Here's where you're going to find the hot water tank that's 8 years old. And so we can just have something that's different. So I even say that, you know, one of the things you might see that's different about our team is we do this, we do, you know, and so I try to make things look a little different than everybody else. But I think the biggest thing is communication. If I ask any client when I'm talking to them, like, in your past experiences, what would you like to change, or what went wrong and where? Well, we didn't know what was going on. So more than anything, we try to show people what we're doing now, as opposed to just tell them. So we send a video, here's all the links, you can see everything, here's what's been happening behind the scenes, or here's what's going to happen. And now I've started calling all my clients on Thursdays, and that's made a huge difference. As much as they like hearing from me by text and email, picking up the phone and hearing my voice has made a huge impact. And now I don't feel like if it's not selling, it's not on my shoulders, it's the market, and at least they're hearing from me. And that pressure has come off of me, and I find a much lighter weight from a listing agent standpoint.
Absolutely. So just a quick check-in call with all your sellers, even if, you know, they've had no showings in a week or so.
Exactly. And I'll tell them, you know, I'm going to call you every Thursday, even if you don't have anything to say. I'm just going to call you and say, hey, you know, this is what's happening, but we've switched. And I try to tell them, like, we're switching up the ads, we're switching up what we're doing. Hey, we'll try an open house this week because we didn't last week. And some people don't want them. We try to do open houses differently than everybody else too. So I think just trying to differentiate yourself is very hard, but finding little nuggets to be able to do that is important. And what I said earlier about not liking the toot your own horn thing, I was the #1 team and all that. I've really never been into that. And I actually lost a listing the other day, and the guy said, oh, we picked so-and-so. And he goes, we really liked you and wanted to pick you, but the other girl, I mean, she sells so much real estate and she sells all around here, and she told us this. And I went, oh my God, I sell 10 times as many houses as she sells. Are you kidding me? And I knew exactly who it was. And I went, oh, well, that's cool. Like, good luck and whatever. And I thought, so you got to find a balance of where you can insert that into the presentation without, I don't know, some people love talking about themselves. I just love, asking questions.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. It's so true. It happens more often than you think, right? Well,
shocking.
Amazing. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, guys. Do you have any questions for Dawn? I know I took a ton of notes. I've learned a lot, things that I'm going to take to my business. Any questions from the group before we wrap up today?
I'm happy to share anything too. If anybody wants any tools or checklists or, I don't know, things where we got stuff, we're an open book here, and there's nothing that we do that we're not willing to share. And maybe if you guys are on the island, you can come up to our mastermind. It's the second Tuesday in July and second Tuesday in August, and it's a lot of fun.
Amazing. If you send me the link, I'll send it out to everyone, or the details. And guys, follow her on Instagram, Dawn Walton Group. If you have any referrals up island, definitely send her away. They're an awesome team. They absolutely crush it on Vancouver Island. So Dawn, we really appreciate you coming to the call today and chatting with the group. I learned a ton, and I'm sure everyone else did as well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much.